vicar of St Mary Le Tower in Ipswich. What have you been learning about helping your church become more missional?
I think I'd say two things. The first is that when you are a priest, when you are a leader, when you are confident in your faith and you are confident in sharing that with others and confident in talking about it unashamedly, that gives other people confidence as well, and it enables them to explore and deepen their own faith and to have the confidence then to share it with others.
Yeah. And for you, that journey started in a sort of a non-Christian setting, which tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I don't come from a church background at all. I started exploring faith at the age of 22 after a kind of chance conversation with someone who's not a churchgoer, and it all kind of happened for me from there, really. I stumbled into a cathedral one afternoon, attended a solemn Eucharist for All Souls Day that I had no idea what it was about, but I found that I didn't totally disagree with what was being said.
Right.
I sort of felt weirdly comfortable.
That's interesting.
And there was, not that I had the language for it at the time, but there was something about the beauty and the majesty of the space, the worship, that allowed me to feel something other, a sense of transcendence. And I sort of got the bug from there, really.
And you did do a little bit of reading around the, Dawkins and company, the atheist sort of agenda. Tell us about that.
Well, yes. When I started exploring faith, I kind of didn't really want to be a Christian. I didn't kind of grow up in that way, and I didn't particularly have a high view of the church growing up.
Right.
And so I kind of thought, well, I needed to see what the other side of the argument was, as I began to be more and more attracted by, at first, a historical person of Jesus of Nazareth, this person passionate about truth and justice. And so I thought, right, I need to read a bit of Richard Dawkins, and that will rid me from this issue, and I can go back and live a normal and happy life.
Right.
But I found the God Delusion to be such a poorly argued book, and that it wasn't satisfying. And I kept on thinking, well, okay, well, I don't know any Christians that believe in the God that you're describing.
Yeah.
And so I sort of quite quickly put that to bed and sort of continued on my journey.
So weirdly, Dawkins drove you closer to God in a sense.
Yeah, I suppose so. Ironically, yeah.
Yeah. So having confidence in God and the Christian gospel. Anything else that helped you lead your parish into a more missional footing?
For me, one of the key things when I started in this parish was to begin to co-create a vision, something that they could believe in, something that they could be excited about. And we started off by asking two questions, really. The first was, what sort of church do you want to be a part of? And the second was, what sort of church do you think Ipswich needs? And the Tower is the town and civic church, so it has a very high profile. It's very visible in the middle of the town.
Right.
And so those were the two questions that we asked, and then we began to kind of work on a process. There were kind of big consultations with all sorts of stakeholders across the town. There were big conversations with members of the congregation, different areas of the congregation, different groups, and then we began together to put together a vision and strategy for the next 5 years that was deeply rooted in prayer. This was a discernment. And it came out of all sorts of fascinating things.
It sounds a lot like our mission action planning process.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. There's very much so. I mean, there are different ways and different methods with which you can approach it. Yeah. For us, the first step was getting the PCC together and having an away day and asking those questions and looking at the past, dealing with any problems that were existing and moving forward and blowing it wider, and then bringing it back again to a smaller group together to finalise it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for those comments. I wish you well.